Hello, I'm Andre Dyson, Supervisor of Studio 270 Digital Media Lab at Gail Borden Public Library. This summer, we will be entering a new territory, the territory of social distance learning. As in the past, we've had our annual digital media summer camp, where we learn about recording audio, photography, video production, music production, and much more. This summer, we still wanted to stay connected to our patrons by providing resources to continue our services online. In this series of tutorials, we will be tackling concepts like the basics of recording audio, the online digital audio workstation, soundtrap.com, audio effects tips, phone video recording, and editing. We will also encourage our media campers to create content and share it via the comments section. We hope you enjoy the content and continue to delve into a great wide world of media with us. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Your Library from Home Digital Media Camp. I'm Andrew, broadcasting here from Studio 270, that's our teen center here in Gail Borden Library. And today we're going to talk about EQ, also short for equalizer, which is a piece of hardware or a tool, a software tool, or equalization. We're going to talk about using equalization to sculpt your sound. First, we got to go through definitions so we know what we're talking about first, right? EQ, short for equalization or equalizer, is a tool used to add or attenuate, that means to take away, lower, the volume of one or more specific frequency bands within a sound. In more simple terms, EQ is a tool that's used to accent sounds you want more present in a recording and or take away from sounds that you don't want as present in the recording. So why would you use EQ? You would use EQ to try to hide or mask tones that you don't like within a recording, to accent and raise up tones that you do like within a recording. And one of the main ways that I use it in music, and most audio engineers use it in music, is for windowing, is the way that I learned the term. So windowing is the process of removing or lowering the volume of a frequency on one track in order to make that same frequency shine more on another track. So an example of how you would use windowing: if you have a track that the guitar is clashing with the vocal and you don't really know why, but it just seems like, okay, this vocal's not clear, or you want the guitar to be more clear and you feel like the guitar's not clear, there's a very good likelihood that those two tracks have frequencies in the same level, which we'll talk about frequency bands later, and we talked about them a little bit in the last tutorial that I gave as well on microphones and audio interfaces. So anyways, windowing, if you have the guitar and it's got a lot of volume, amplitude going on around 3000 hertz, and the vocal has a lot going on around 3000 hertz, you would pull the 3000 hertz in that area, that band, down in order to make the other track shine. So if you pulled it down in the guitar, then the vocal would become more clear. If you pulled it down in the vocal, then the guitar should become more clear, in theory. So that's why you would use EQ, and we're going to go through some of those applications here in a bit. Before we get into windowing, we'll do that with some music stuff later, but I want to do a spoken words vocal tutorial first to show you how you can use EQ to affect the vocals. So we're going to use some sample audio that I have here. This is Gail Borden Library's own Tracy Hansen. She does our hold messages here. So this is an excerpt from the hold message, and this is it playing before EQ.
Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library. Gail Borden Library customers now have even more movies to choose with Canopy, an on-demand movie streaming service available to Gail Borden cardholders.
Cool. All right, so that was without EQ. Doesn't sound bad. Now I'm going to go in and play with the EQ a bit here while I go through and show you what I'm doing. Now, I'm not mixing in headphones because I wasn't able to get the audio to come through from Logic here. That's the program we're using, Logic Pro X. I wasn't able to get the audio to come through when I'm wearing the headphones. So we'll do the best we can just with the computer speakers here. Again, like I said, I'm using Logic Pro X as my digital audio workstation, but you could use EQ with or without a computer. There's actually EQ on car stereos, which we'll talk about later. There's probably EQ on your home stereo if you have one. You could use any digital audio workstation and it's going to have an EQ plugin, whether it's Logic, Audacity, Pro Tools, Fruity Loops, which is now FL Studio. All of those are going to have EQ. So you could take these and you could apply them to software, you could apply them to hardware, and like I said, I'll even show you how to apply it in your car later. Here we go. This is without the EQ. Yeah.
Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library.
What you're seeing here,
Gail Borden Library.
the analyzer shows me
even more movies to choose with Canopy,
where the frequencies are coming in. So
service available to Gail Borden
every sound has its own frequencies that it's present in. So anywhere, as we see here, from 20 hertz over to 20,000 hertz, those are the frequencies that are audible to the human ear. So anything between 20 and 20K you could hear. It's hard for a lot of humans to hear some of these, and if you have hearing damage, you might lose frequencies in certain ranges. But if you got regular hearing, between 20 and 20,000 should be, you really shouldn't hear anything below or above that unless you have superhuman hearing. Alright, so anyways, as you see,
thank you for calling.
The analyzer showing me I got a lot going on here in the 200 range, which that's the lower tone, the bass range. I see I got a lot going on in the 500 range as well. So that tells me that this vocal has really not much ultra lows and not much high mids or treble. So what I do when I'm trying to really hear things is first I'll usually sweep up, exaggerate the sound, really hear what that does.
Gail Borden Library
And then I'll really exaggerate it down the other way, hear what that does. And then I'll find a happy medium between the two that I like. Sometimes I'll even close my eyes
Canopy offers more than 30,000
so that my
films, including
eyes
TV
don't deceive me and I just let my ears do
PBS
the
programs, popular documentaries, foreign
work for
language
me.
films, and much more.
So I don't like it.
For more information, go to www.gailborden.info/canopy.
I get about right here, so let's see where I'm at.
Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library.
Alright, cool. I'm going to try this band here, same thing, sweep it way up.
Gail Borden Library customers
Way down.
now have even more movies to choose.
Alright,
with
so that's
Canopy,
too low. I'm
an
going to
on-demand movie streaming service available to Gail Borden cardholders. Canopy offers more than
like it about
30,000
there.
films, including
boosted
TV
it significantly.
series,
2.5.
PBS
So that's still a very
programs,
small,
documentaries,
relatively
foreign
small
language films, and
adjustment.
much more.
2.5 decibels there.
For more
Might
information,
look like a
go to
fairly significant, but that's not too much volume. Let's try about in 2K.
Canopy.
So that really brightens it
Thank
up
you
there.
for calling Gail Borden Library. Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library. Gail Borden Library
That sounds
customers now
fancy.
have even more movies to choose with Canopy, an
It's a little
on-demand
hissy there,
movie
so I'm
streaming
gonna come
service
down.
available to Gail Borden cardholders. Canopy offers more than 30,000 films, including TV series, PBS programs, popular documentaries,
Highs.
foreign language films, and much more.
I hear a lot of
For
the
more
S by pulling
information,
those highs.
Go
So
to
pull those down a bit.
www.gailborden.info/canopy.
Alright. So then what I do once I've gotten through that is I like to
Thank you for calling
listen
Gail
back and
Borden
make sure I
Library.
actually did make it sound better to myself. So let's
Gail
see.
Borden
Turn it.
Library
This is with
customers now
the
have even more.
EQ on.
Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library.
This is with it off.
Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library. Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library.
So here's on
Gail
again.
Borden Library customers now have even more
Oh.
movies to choose with Canopy, an on-demand movie streaming
I like it
service
better where it's at. I
available
think it
to Gail
sounds.
Borden
I think
cardholders.
it sounds cleaner. So one more time. Here's without,
Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library.
and here's with.
Thank you for calling Gail Borden Library.
There's a little bit of
Gail
the
Borden
words
Library.
without EQ.
Thank you. Gail Borden Library customers now have even more movies to choose with Canopy.
And same excerpt with.
Gail Borden Library customers now have even more movies to choose with Canopy.
So that sounds a little bit more clear to me. So I'm going to leave it right where it is. That's how you would use EQ to adjust a voice to taste. Now, You might have to do things a little differently if you have music involved, because as you add more layers, they all start to interact with one another. But if we're doing just a vocal, this is a good way to go through and kind of clean things up and get them to where you want. So if you're doing podcasting, voiceovers, anything like that, EQ is a great tool. It's fairly subtle changes. The use for EQ, a lot of times it could be drastic, but a lot of times it's done subtly, but it does make things shine a little bit more. Cool. So that's how you can EQ vocals. I told you we're gonna see how you could apply this in other ways too. So I'm gonna show you how to do EQ on a car stereo. Why don't you come on down with me? Okay, we're here in my vehicle and I'm gonna show you how to use the EQ on your car stereo. Well, EQ is not just for audio professionals and musicians, it's also for the consumer as well. Whether talk radio or music, you can control that with EQ. You probably have an EQ on your car radio. For me, mine is right here in the tune, and then it pops up bass, mid, treble. Yours might be sliders or something, but it's all the same. So
Call 1-800-GO-AMCO.
we're going to start with talk radio, like I said.
Next traffic report 328.
Let's take the bass out.
105.9 FM.
Back with the forecast today. Another hot day.
Thinner.
With a high today of 89, but the heat index could peak into the mid-90s. And tonight,
a lot of those low tones when I bring it up.
Under cloudy
More
conditions.
presence.
81 at O'Hare, Midway at 82. The lakefront
Let's try the mids.
at 71. And
Take
the
them out.
market watch today, Dow closed up 11 points.
We lose a lot of that voice.
Down 67. S&P down about 10. WVLK News Time 320.
A lot of that vocal is right there in the
Our
mids.
top
Treble.
in Minneapolis with music and prayers for peace. We are asking
Hear the music
you,
is a little
Lord, to
louder, the
show us
voice
the way.
is a little brighter,
Our city and nation are becoming rightfully
a little more
despondent.
muffled now, so
With
that means there's some
neighbors
highs
set
in those
against
vocals.
neighbor. The Reverend Al Sharpton
Let's
delivered the
switch to
eulogy.
music. Let's turn this bass down. Oops. Very thin, you lose all that bass guitar, most of the kick drum. So you can hear it booming there. It might not all pick up through the phone audio, but that bass got real loud. There's the mids. You can hear a lot of the voices in those mids. Because when I take it away, it's muffled. Now you got great clear vocals there. A lot of that voice in the mid again. And then here's the treble, the highs. Those cymbals got real bright when I turned it up. The cymbals, the snare got brighter, the vocals got a little brighter. Now it sounds muffled again, like you're behind a wall, right? And it's without the treble. Oh. That's how you can use EQ on your car stereo. Let's head back up. Okay, so we learned how to apply EQ on speaking voices. We learned how to use EQ in a car stereo, which you could also apply on home stereos. Now let's talk about applying EQ on music. What I have here is two versions of a track that I recorded. One of them has EQ on all of the tracks, and the other one has the EQ taken out on all of the tracks. So let's hear how this sounded first without any equalization.
Central Florida is having some significant weather patterns. We are in the blue sky.
Alright, so let's focus in first just on that intro. That was recorded from an airplane that I was on, and I just recorded the audio right on my phone. So there's a lot of noise from the wind outside of the plane, everything else that's going on the plane. So that required a lot of equalization. So again, here it is without any EQ. With the EQ. So they still got that air in there, but it's a lot cleaner than it was before. Let's move into the vocals. This is the vocals that I recorded without EQ.
Got a woman on my mind, we'll be fine. Lobster bisque, well I dine, making art on my grind, it's my heart.
Alright, so let's hear it with.
We'll be fine. Lobster bisque, well I dine, making art on my grind, it's my heart, it's my mind, it's my soul.
So it's not as drastic on the vocals that I recorded. This also has everything else still on there, so the compressors, the pitch correction, everything else that I used is on these tracks. I just took out the EQ. So there's the difference in the full tracks. Let's go into the session itself. And let me show you what I did on that flight announcement here. So I used a single band EQ. Let me pull up the multi-band EQ again. So what the single band EQ does is it's going to take, I set it to be at 850 hertz. So it takes everything under 850 hertz. It's going to drop that down by 24 decibels, which is significant. That's the same slope that I got down right here. So nearly inaudible. So I got a filter cutting out at 850 there, and another one at 4600. So I've got essentially a band, what's almost like a band pass filter, but it's everything's pushed to the middle. So everything from 4600, which is right about here, is cut out, and then everything at 850 and below is cut out. So you're really only getting this stuff here. I found that the voice, most of the pilot's voice was coming in right in these frequency ranges, so that's the one that I boosted up with the EQ there. So that's how we did the flight. Voice, and then let me show you a quick example of windowing as well. One place that I had to do it on this track was the main sample, which is this. And the main vocal, which is here.
Lobster bisque, well I dine, making art on my grind, it's my heart.
So as you could see, I pulled the vocal up in the 1 to roughly 8K. It's mostly peaking at the 5,000 range of where I pulled it up by a few decibels. And in those same ranges, I pulled it down a bit here and significantly in the high end on the sample itself. I did that again, like I said, to make the voice be more clear. Sometimes when there's competing frequencies in the same band, you have to choose which one you want to shine. So I wanted the vocals to stand out more. So let me show you how this sounds with the EQ on the sample and the vocals going, and then without. So here's with.
It's my mind,
If I turn the EQ off the sample,
living good, cause I'm kind, like the bars, I got bars, I go hard.
You probably won't hear a significant change through these computer speakers, but taking that high end out of the sample and some of that mids here really helps it to shine in the vocal range. And if I were to pull this down, that would, I think, probably take away from some of that clarity in my voice as well. So there it is. That's how you could apply EQ on music. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Your Library at Home Digital Media Camp. Thanks to Angus for providing the music that we mix to. And make sure you tune in next week with Andre Dyson. If you want to see the parts of the camp that we've done in previous weeks, go ahead to the YouTube playlist or the Facebook playlist, and they're all there. Thanks, and see you next time.